Welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast on Citizen TV. We continue the news review this morning with MP for Kiminini, Chris Wamalwa, and Senator from Nandi, Samson Cherargei. Just before we take a look at other headlines, I need to sample one SMS here from one of our viewers. Parents should not bear anything unless he or she has not provided the requirements. School unrest lies squarely on principals who are fighting the new government systems of transfers before it happens. Where's the school management? That's just one of the opinions with regard to the discussion we were having just before the break. But we've moved on now. We want to talk about the money in Switzerland. Uhuru goes for loot in Swiss banks, and according to the estimation by the Standard on the front page, 72 billion shillings is the amount of money believed to have been stolen in Kenya and stashed in Swiss banks. Interestingly, I look at the comments on Twitter, and at Welie Mohammed says, I think the frozen Kenyan money is in Switzerland is safer there. What do you think? Someone else who has a similar sentiment, just a moment, I scroll down and find that one. At It's Mutai says, Mr. President, sir, the money is safer in Swiss banks than it shall be in Kenya. Please keep the loot in Switzerland. It sounds like a major breakthrough, and just by the kind of prominence given by the dailies, because on the Daily Nation it's on the back page. Kenya-Swiss Inc. deal to recover corruption loot. Agreement is also supported by United Kingdom and Jersey Island. From time immemorial, we've had a lot about the Jersey Island and these other islands around the United Kingdom, and where many people have stashed money, and there's still ongoing cases with regard to offshore accounts held by Kenyans there. But there seems to be some level of skepticism, even in this deal, that yes, even if you get that money, it may not necessarily be beneficial. If we have that kind of skepticism about money that we could potentially recover, what about our taxes? But Chris Wamalwa.
First and foremost, I want to salute His Excellency the President for taking this fight against corruption further by having that MOU with these respective other countries. For example, we've known that many people, they take their money to Swiss. We've had many key people in this country. Some we've had cases in court that a lot of the looting that takes place, that is a safe place to keep the money. So by having this kind of MOU, I think the President is doing the right thing so that this money can be recovered. But the worries that Kenyans have in terms of this recovery, I think is also to do with the corruption in this country, because there must be a clear framework of recovery. Otherwise, this money we've talked of 72 billion, the time it lives there, it reaches Amsterdam before it lands here in Nairobi, it's gone. It will have evaporated. Maybe 10% is the only money that will be here. So it is important that we must have a clear framework of recovery. We must have these issues of full disclosure. And one of the responsibilities of asset recovery is by EACC, the Ethics and Corruption Commission. And when Honorable Serem brought this matter before the House, I know we've not debated, but the issue is this: when you ask EACC up to now, how much have they recovered? Vis-a-vis the amount of money that the government has or parliament has allocated to them. Obviously, you'll see there's a big discrepancy. And to me personally, I don't think EACC has done their mandate very, very well. So the President has gone further. Let's have a clear framework on how this money will be able to reach this country. Because I want to agree with the concerns of the people on social media. You might have gotten this, but this money, how will it reach here? Because in this country, we've been told of so many funny things. We've seen the government maybe coming out in terms of destruction. We've been told about the sugar issue that we have now, because we are told that part of that sugar has been confined somewhere. You know, we're not even sure, but we are told the entire consignment, part of it that has already left. So there's that issue of raising doubts because of some of the agencies that we have. They've not done to the expectation of the people. Yes. So those worries are very valid. So the issue is we need to have a clear framework that in terms of recovery, how this money going to come here. Because there are many Kenyans, the hyenas, they're actually salivating on this 72 billion.
Yes. Yeah. The issue is not the availability of money, even in terms of collection of taxes. KRA does a pretty decent job. They may not meet their targets, but they do a pretty decent job. The problem is pilferage, and however much you may collect, probably we should not be celebrating that there's 72 billion shillings that could be coming our way. That the concerns raised by Atits Mutai and Mohamed Wilie are very genuine. That yes, we should be concerned that there's more money coming our way without us actually tackling the biggest problem, the elephant in the room.
I agree, and I think Kenya is one of the signatories on Charter on corruption, and in fact, one of the biggest impediment on fight against corruption has been how do we make it painful to participate in corruption. And I think one of the things that Kenyans have been insisting is one of the asset recovery. Say that if you have stolen 5 billion, you should be meant to your accounts to be frozen, to your assets to be frozen. And I think I've seen they have tried in NY's case. The issue of asset recovery has been one of the discussions across the globe, where and you know, Swiss has been blamed as being the country that has been very liberal in terms. And you remember the famous case of Sani Abacha, the former Nigerian president, where he deposited almost 3/4 of stolen money from Nigeria in that. And therefore, this bilateral agreement on fight against corruption is welcome. And number two is now that we should also take it further, so that we participate in ensuring what we call MLA, mutual legal assistance, where so that we, as I agree with Mheshimiwa Chris, that we need to have a clear framework. Because if we are not careful, if we go and bring 72 billion, I can assure you 7.2 billion will reach the country. Yes. And therefore, we should be saying, when we recover, what is the legal process through the mutual legal assistance between the Swiss and the Kenyan government. And therefore, in fact, the EACC and the DCI, I think EACC cannot tell Kenyans up to today how much they have recovered in terms of asset recovery or the stolen money or anything. They have been beating around the bush. So even as we try to recover this, does EACC have the capacity to tell us we have recovered 72 billion? Because of course the executive cannot be the ones going and bringing that money. Yes. We have a constitutional bodies that are there, that the EACC, they have been within the law has given them such powers. They should go and recover that money, so that, and tell us within the legal framework, so that in as much as we fight and ensure that this money is recovered, it can be used prudently and Kenyans can get value for their money, so that we don't come and enrich somebody else.
We should slow down in actually getting the money back. Okay, fine, we know we have this deal. The money is secure, it's in Switzerland. Should we leave it there for a bit until we sort out the house?
In fact, in my opinion, in my own considered opinion, we should allow it. We should have a proper framework on how this money will be brought back into the country and where it will go. Because sometimes, you know, money that is not budgeted within the government and it is lying around, we have Tim Mafisi as Chris has said, who will be idling around. So there is no need of recovering. It comes lying allowed. Let us make sure that the legal framework, and then we develop a proper. You know, when I hosted as the chair of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, when I sat with EACC, I could notice that there are so many loopholes within the aspect of asset recovery that the law is not properly watertight. Say that some of these issues, some of these assets recovered, you cannot today, the EACC can only have recovered this camera,
and this is where
it went, this is how it was stolen.
It is a serious concern.
It is a serious concern. So it could also be danger to have 72 billion.
But that's where you come in. That's where you come in as parliamentarians. That probably you've not done enough in as far as securing assets that have been recovered from probably proceeds of crime.
I think the law is there under the EACC Act, but maybe we need to do some to go into the issues of regulations, so that if this money is supposed to come, how is it going to be channeled? And we need to have proper progress reports. And when this money comes, where is it going? In this country, we have unclaimed assets. We have a body unclaimed assets, whereby they get these funds and they invest these funds. So really, if it's going to go to the Unclaimed Asset Authority, there must be close follow-up. To me, I strongly believe, unless we've put a clear framework in place, it's when we want to have this money back. Otherwise, if we rush quickly, as I said earlier, the money will evaporate on the way. Yes. There are so many hyenas, they are strategizing themselves to see how they're going to benefit from this loot. So after we've put a clear framework in place, we have a clear body where this money is going, and we must do close monitoring. To me, if these funds can come here, they can help in the budget deficit we have in this country. We know it is going beyond the 3 trillion. And we know in the finance bill, Kenyans are going to be taxed heavily. And this is going to increase the cost of living. So to me, if that money can come quickly, at least it can be able to cushion Kenyans. But the concern is, unless we have a clear legal framework of how this money is going to be recovered, otherwise we might be jumping from one danger to a worse situation. That is the concern that is there. But as legislators, maybe it's the highest time maybe EACC should come on board, the Unclaimed Asset Authority, to see how do we put a committee in place or a clear framework in place when this money comes. And Treasury should also be there. Treasury should be there, Central Bank should be there when this money comes for safe custody, how it's going to be invested. But to me, I thought it should come and be able maybe to cover up the budget deficit that we have, so that we can cushion Kenyans. Because when you look at the measures under the finance bill, which has already been tabled in Parliament, the measures that the CS Treasury had put in place, like for instance, the issue of sending money transfer, M-Pesa, 12%, bringing some taxation on paraffin. The cost of living obviously is going to go very high. Transferring the 500,000, you know, the percentage is talking about that you must be able to pay. The cost of doing business, it is going to be very, very expensive.